Hi, my name is Dave Wilkin. I am a music educator and freelance musician based in Asheville, North Carolina. I have a YouTube channel and blog called Wilktone that, among other things, talks a little bit about one of my academic interests for the past 20 years, brass embouchures. One thing that I've been curious about for a long time is what I would consider the urban legend of the brass player hanging his or her instrument from a string on the ceiling and then approaching the mouthpiece that way and playing with a beautiful tone, very high volume, very high note. And I've also often wondered if that's true because I've not been able to find any videos online of that demonstrating this. And I thought for sure that if people have been doing this for as long as people claim that it's been around, surely there must be some video demonstrations of someone successfully doing it. There are some folks who try to duplicate it using other methods that I'll demonstrate in a second, but so far I haven't come across anybody actually doing this. I'm going to take a short little trip and see if I can duplicate this demonstration myself. Okay, I'm down here in my basement and I've rigged up my P-bone to the ceiling using some twine just to see that if I can duplicate the experiment or demonstration that you can hang a brass instrument from the ceiling with a string, and if you have a well-functioning embouchure, play with very minimal pressure. So here goes. Now, I don't think I'm necessarily the best person to attempt this experiment for a couple of reasons. One thing is that, as you can tell, when I try to go ahead and play into the instrument that's hanging on the string, is that I'm not getting a firm enough seal to play effectively. And so essentially what I'm doing is kind of free buzzing close almost onto the mouthpiece, and it's not quite working. The reason why I'm not necessarily the best person to try this out is because my particular embouchure type is an upstream embouchure type. I set the mouthpiece very low on my lips. My lower lip predominates and airstream goes up. As opposed to downstream types who place the mouthpiece with more upper lip inside the mouthpiece, and that more closely reflects what happens when brass players free buzz. I do free buzz, but I don't necessarily transfer that to the instrument because it works against my natural tendencies as an upstream player, but I'm going to try to demonstrate that as well. So here's my free buzz. And I'm not able to really get anything resembling an actual sound doing that either. Let me try it again a little bit here. Let me get a point of reference too. And that way is actually less effective for me than trying to play with my natural embouchure tendencies, which I'll try one more time here. So I'm not sure that I can do that. And also, just for a point of reference, because some people may be curious what it sounds like when I play normally. And take that a little bit with a grain of salt because this is a P-bone. I don't want to hang up my one of my actual instruments up in case the twine breaks and the instrument hits the deck. I'm going to come back in a second and try this again with my trumpet. So again, disclaimer, I'm not a trumpet player. I used to double on trumpet. It used to be my primary instrument before I switched to trombone in high school. But that was many, many years ago. I don't have a very good trumpet, which is why I'm not too concerned about hanging it from some twine. But again, just as a point of reference, I'm going to see what kind of range I have on trumpet. I have not played trumpet in months. So not very good, but give me a second. I'm going to try hanging it up from the string and see if there's any difference in trumpet playing on a string compared to trombone playing with the smaller mouthpiece size. Okay, that might be a little bit better. One of the tricky things I've discovered in trying this experiment out is trying to get the angle of the horn and the level of the mouthpiece at about where you would hold it when if you were holding it with your hands. So here's attempt number 2. And there goes the angle. Let's try it again. Again, I'm not really able to get anything resembling a decent sound, let alone range, on trumpet by doing the hanging on the string experiment. In contrast, you do see on YouTube sometimes folks that will demonstrate this concept, and they might do something where they're dangling the instrument from just holding it with one valve, like this. And again, my trumpet playing is not all that great, but you can see a noticeable difference between having the instrument being pushed away from you while you're trying to bring your embouchure to the instrument, as opposed to holding it a little bit more firmly by the valve. The other thing that sometimes I see demonstrated is one of these things where they're resting it on the palm of their hand. Again, my trumpet playing is not all that great, but there's quite a bit more mouthpiece pressure from using these two methods of holding it in your hand, but albeit with a different kind of grip, and the actual dangling it from the instrument. I'm going to try that a little bit with the trombone here. Again, I'll use my P-bone just because it's at hand, and then also I don't want to drop it. So I'm just going to try gripping the P-bone. Let's just try the balancing it on the palm. This is one of the difficulties with the trombone. Here we go. So I don't have quite the same range that I do when I play normally. But I'm still able to get a much better sound just by hanging onto it on the palm, as compared to dangling it from the string. So, as I said, perhaps I'm not the best person to be demonstrating this and trying this experiment out. I'd be curious if some other players out there can try duplicating this and see if they have different results than I do on this. But for now, I'm going to have to call The hanging the brass instrument from a string and playing high notes with good sound, debunked, at least with regards to my own playing.